Okay, I think we are ready to start, so welcome everybody. This is Gosia Kwiatkowska from RIX Research and Media, and we are hosting a webinar today with our guest Kathryn Stowell from Charlton Park Academy. She's the head of Outreach and Communication, and she's managing and delivering CENMAC, Centre for Assistive Technologies in London. So today we invited Kathryn to talk to us about her experience of working with RIX Wikis in her school. The title of today's session is Listening and Involving Children and Young People. So Kathryn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, thank you very much, Gosia. And yes, my name's Kathryn and I work at Charlton Park Academy. We're a special secondary school. We have over 220 students and we're based in Greenwich in London. We also run an outreach service from the school, which is called CENMAC, and we provide assistive technology to around 400 children across London.
Okay, so how did you come about using multimedia?
Well, it all started quite a number of years ago, over 15 years ago, when I worked in a school in East London. The school was closing and the students were to be moved into a unit within a mainstream school. And at the time we were making a film about the school. It was a very unique school for children with physical disability and other complex needs. And we thought, well, why not use some of the fantastic film that we had and put together into digital profiles for the new schools. The feedback from the mainstream schools was that the teachers were quite scared about how they were actually going to provide education to our young people. And so what the media allowed us to do was really show the true potential of our students and their real personalities and the joy that we had teaching them to the people that they were going to be moving on to. The difficulty was that it was a very adult-driven project because we had very limited technology. We actually had one computer that we did mainly all the editing on, and we had to edit all the film clips. A lot of that was done at home in our own time. And so even though it allowed us to share a very positive picture of the young people and give some very valuable information, it was very, very sort of adult driven. I then moved from that school to Charlton Park Academy. We have a head teacher, Mark Dale-Emberton, who is very keen on new technologies, keen for us to try it out, and he asked if I could come and develop the use of multimedia within the school as it was then. So I had the real privilege of working with students on a one-to-one basis some of the time and help them put together some video clips for their annual reviews. And it just became apparent how powerful the multimedia was in sharing their voice and their views about what they wanted for the future. Also using video for storytelling. So you can see on the screen at the moment there's a screenshot of Georgina Goes Out. She was a student at the school who used our residential provision, and during the holidays she was confined to her bedroom really. She didn't have any opportunity to go out, so she didn't look forward to her holidays at all. So we helped her make a film which then won an award, which then enabled her to go and take part in parliamentary groups and help change provision for young people who are looked after. So it was really apparent how powerful the use of multimedia was. I have endless examples of those early days where young people would come along to their annual review with a clip, maybe showing how they wanted more physio, or they wanted to have more access to music, or various things that helped change their provision. Yeah.
Okay, so great, thank you. That's really interesting background. So what led you to the use of wikis? Because I know in your school you have 250 children, around that number, and every single child is using wiki. So why?
Well, as I was just saying, it was so apparent how powerful the use of multimedia was, and for the students to be able to use that to empower them in meetings, that finding a way to enable everyone in the school to do that and not rely on just one person to support an individual to do it. And my work with the RIX Research and Media has been over a number of years also, and I think with the developments in technology and the ease of access, so we're not having to download film tape and edit it, we can just clip it on our iPads and things now. It has allowed us to really look at developing the skills of self-advocacy, which is at the core of what RIX does, and so we don't have to worry about the technology as much, but we can look at the skills that we're supporting the young people to develop. So the RIX Wiki is the perfect platform really, because it's been designed with people with learning difficulties, so all our students are able to access the wikis in some way, and it means that it's very easy and can be integrated throughout everything that we do. So like you said, Gosha, we've got every student in the school now has a RIX Wiki as their platform to show their multimedia.
Thank you. So how do you involve the young people?
So we involved them right from the start really. The first pilot we did with using the RIX Wiki, we worked with a group of parents and professionals, and very quickly we realised that the ownership was in the wrong place, and that we needed a way to be able to empower the individuals. So from the pilot, we decided to implement the use of wikis throughout the curriculum and put onto the curriculum the multimedia self-advocacy, but also the use of the wikis in the ICT lessons. So the students learned how to use the wikis first and started to build their own digital profile, and then invited their parents and other professionals, and they taught them how to use the wiki, so that the ownership was with the students. We also looked at ways to develop templates and tools for the young people to use that would help them to build their wikis. We had we have a whole range of young people with various abilities within the school, so we had to look at the different groups of young people and how we would support them in their different ways of accessing the wikis. So for our students with profound and multiple learning difficulties, it was more about looking at engaging with the media, their own image, simple choice making, ways of interacting. For some of our more able students, then we could look at more of the self-advocacy skills and more of the planning and thinking about their rights and information and the way that they might share in meetings. And for our students with autism, then there was other actual huge benefits in terms of their communication and social experiences and their way of a fantastic tool actually to help them engage with other people. So we had we spent a lot of time developing those different ways of working across the school to ensure that the young people all had a way of being involved depending on what ability they had.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because, it's very easy to involve someone who doesn't have complex needs. But for students that you have, that a lot of them, like you mentioned, had additional needs and complex and profound and multiple learning disabilities. So it's really nice to see that you have tried to find different ways of engaging this group of students who are often sort of left out and don't benefit from the use of technology. And it's great to see that through your practice and openness to research and working with the university, you found a way of engaging them and helping them to have their voice to be heard as well, because that's the voice that is usually sort of silenced. So do you want to tell me a little bit about how do you ensure that the voice of every student is captured and heard?
Yeah, well, I think one of the really fantastic tools that we first started using was the person-centred planning tools. And you can see from some of the templates, we've got headings on there that are around the person-centred planning tools. We've moved on from that slightly now because we've integrated the EHCP plans and some of the headings that are on that. So most of the centre buttons now is called My Story, which gives a bit of a background to the person. I think it's also important that young people get lots of practice and use of using their media and opportunities. There's lots of examples of how students have progressed and where you would think that, oh, this person is not able to access their meeting, where they actually have. And one of the students who has a parent who's very proactive in using the wiki, her son wasn't even able to cope with being in a room full of adults. It's an environment that really wasn't inviting to him. And gradually, by using the wiki and showing what things were really valuable and important to him, and for him to recognise lovely clips of family and of things that he does enjoy, that he slowly, from being able to just come in the room for a few minutes to now being able to access his meeting and play video, choose 2 or 3 pieces of video. I think also examples of someone with profound and multiple learning difficulties who you can capture a range of video over a number of different situations, and then taking the time in a meeting to look at that, you can see what's really important to that person. So, for example, we had a student who again accessed our residential provision, and staff had supported with him videoing lots of different situations. And it became very apparent that his face changed with delight every time he went out. And so there was a real realisation that actually he liked being outside and being out in the community. And so for his future, they were able to look at opportunities that would give him more access to those sorts of things.
It's really interesting how you're talking about the use of video, and it almost acts like a magnifying glass that helps the professional to remove themselves from the situation, and through that camera lens suddenly see things that normally they wouldn't have noticed. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting way of using cameras and video and technologies.
And I think also, and I mean, we don't have to convince anyone to using video, because video is used really widely, but I think it's the way that we use it to empower the person and their voice. And we might have a meeting and we might have 1 or 2 clips, but if we have a meeting and we have a wiki up on the screen right at the beginning of the meeting, and we invite that person in and we ask them, play something from your wiki, what do they choose? And I think it just completely changes the focus of the meeting. And I don't know, over the years that I've been working in education, I don't know how many times I've been to a meeting where there's been a lot of adults talking with best intentions about somebody, but then when you switch it and you have that person there and they're directing the meeting, then the outcome is often far more creative and empowering for that person than what it would be that if it's a group of adults making the assumptions about that person.
It's really interesting, isn't it, how easily you can give the voice to the young person using a bit of technology and something that motivates them, like the use of cameras, videos, images, and putting them at the center of those meetings. And like you say, the outcomes will definitely be more person-centered, adequate, and right for the individual. So at the end of such meeting, everybody would be happy: the young person, the families, the professionals. And like you say, with a bit of creativity, you can deliver service or activities to students that are more appropriate for the individuals. It's great. Can you tell me then, how do you use wikis, or how your students are using wikis in the school?
Well, we have been using wikis for 5 years or more. So there is a huge range of ways that we've used the wikis. So not only for the young people to use at their meetings, but also examples of using within the curriculum. So it might be that the students do something one week and they put a bit of film onto their wiki, and then they use it to recap the following week and remind them where they are. Fantastic for sharing achievements and progress. One fantastic example was a young person we had who was leaving and had an iPad for communication. We made an application to an AAC hub so that he could get his own communication device, and he didn't quite meet the criteria for communication in terms of funding. So we said to them, look, here's the wiki, log on, look at his progress, look at how he uses the iPad for his communication. That it never left his side. He took it everywhere, and it was a fantastic tool, even though he just used one button for messages and to access. And so he had his device approved because of the access to the accumulated video clips and showing his progress over time. We've got young people that have been part of the Greenwich Disability Council, and they've made a wiki to share all the important things that they're discussing, and for other people to see what's really important to them in terms of Greenwich and what's provided within the borough for people with disabilities. We've got wikis that we've used for sharing best practice and helping to improve provision across the school. We've had wikis where we've had medical staff who have looked at putting their care plans. We've had wikis that students have been involved in to show other students about provision, so the residential provision. We have got, I've just made a note of some examples where wikis have been really beneficial for some of our some of our students who are non-verbal but have very complex needs, and I think as a communication tool to let someone know share with someone what their true personality is has been really brilliant on the wiki. We've got a young woman who has made a few presentations with me, and within 2 or 3 minutes she's got an audience laughing and sharing with her about her experiences and her personality, where she doesn't have other means of doing that. And one of the teachers I was discussing this morning, she was saying how if her students were to meet someone and to talk to them, they might use 1 or 2 words with someone, but put their wiki up and then they're sharing full sentences about things that are part of their lives. And I've seen we've got a young group of students in the school who have been real wiki champions over the last few years, who have come with me to do presentations and share with other young people their use of wikis, and the increase in their confidence and their self-esteem has just been amazing, and they're just brilliant advocates with the use of their wikis.
Oh, fantastic. It's just you shared so many great examples of giving students a voice and developing their self-advocacy skills. And like you say, I mean, if you don't give students practice and opportunities, then they don't develop those skills. So with the use of RIX Wikis and adding information about them, the things that are important to them, and giving them the opportunity to be present at the forum, you know, for local government, to sort of shape local governments, shape local policies, but also national policies, with the example that you gave us at the beginning with Georgina, shape school policies, involve them in those meetings and presenting, involving them in presenting outside of schools. You know, I know you have those events, the Communication Works event, for example, that happened just a few weeks ago, where you invite professionals from all over England and international as well. And again, your students are always present, and their voice is very clearly coming across through all the presentations and all the examples that you give. And by giving them the opportunities to prepare for those and then practice those skills, I can truly see how the self-advocacy skills really develop, and then these students, you know, go out and they can practice and be ready for adulthood and be able to self-advocate, but also be able to advocate on behalf of others. And like you say, we talked about the right to communication and the right to be listened and the right to be involved, and you very clearly gave us fantastic examples how this is possible. It's really nice, and no wonder that you've been awarded an outstanding award recently in your inspections. Just before we finish, we have a few more questions. I wanted to know how you, what is your sort of biggest impact? What do you think, what stands up for you? What are you most proud of? Or what was the most sort of powerful use of your example that you had over the years of your practice?
Gosh, there's so many, and often it's the little things that are the really standout moments. When you see somebody with profound and multiple learning difficulties who is nonverbal and doesn't have the ability to say what they want, but by using a wiki, suddenly they get a group of professionals all thinking creatively, because they realise that this person's really into reggae music, and how could we get them to go to a concert or something that they might really enjoy. So there's lots and lots of moments where I think there's been change of practice and things have happened for young people that I think is really great. A couple of weeks ago we did have Communication Works, and we had a young man, Abdi Omar, who came to open our event, and he's an AAC user and is an aspiring consultant and inspirational speaker. And he said in his talk, the most powerful thing you can do is give someone a voice or a tool to communicate. And the wikis are just that exactly. That not only do we give someone the ability to communicate, but communicate in a way that is empowering them to lead the lives that they want and to the full potential that they have.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kathryn. Before we finish the webinar, we have a few minutes left for some questions, and I have one question here that came earlier on from one of our audiences. Is how do you involve parents?
Good question. I think, and this is a lovely image that's on the screen actually. This was when we first began using our wikis, and we taught students how to load their edit and add information to their wikis, and then we invited their parents into the lesson so that they could teach them. And this activity here was the students filming their parents talking about a memorable story from their childhood or something that was fun and something, and it was such a delightful session. It was really nice and a really great way to involve the parents into the classroom, but also to allow the students to lead something. So rather than, you know, parents coming in and it being sort of the other way around, it was the students leading something. But I think the wikis are a great way to involve parents. If you know, our wikis are a tool for the student and for the family, so they're given the logins to use at home, and you know, are really encouraged to upload and add information, and a tool to be shared between home and school. So yeah, it's a great tool for involving parents and sharing information. And often, you know, parents will see things that their students are doing at school that they didn't know, or vice versa, for us to find out things about home. We run workshops for the parents so that they can come in and learn how to use the wikis as well. Wikis are used as part of coffee mornings and parent evenings, that sort of thing.
It's great examples, and gives people, I'm sure, lots of ideas how they can involve parents positively, so they don't have any, you know, sort of that barrier that sometimes is being reported that, you know, parents feel they're busy already, they don't want to be involved in some additional work. But the way you sort of involve them, and the way you use the wiki sort of support, so they can see there is a real purpose, and that it benefits the communication as well between the family or the home and the school and the young person. And yeah, so it's a nice example. I like the example of coffee mornings, the training sessions, and the parents' evening. So it's nice that the students probably can also be part of those parents' evenings and be proud, presenting their achievements or showing what they've been doing at school. Great. Just one more question. What are the barriers, or what are the biggest barriers that you had when you started implementing the use of RIX Wikis across your school, and how did you resolve them?
Well, I think sometimes the technology can still be a bit of a barrier mainly for people that haven't grown up with technology as our students, because our students don't seem to have any problems. And I think if you can put the technology in their hands, then they can then teach their families. The other thing we've found quite useful is teaching siblings. So siblings can support at home where parents may not feel as confident. I think another barrier can be changes in staff. So where something is integrated and then you have changes, and then you need to teach and support new people into taking up the use of technology and integrating it. I think we've worked really hard to try and make sure that the technology is not the blocker, and that's where I think, like I said at the beginning, that the RIX Wiki is an easy build. It's very simple to use, and we are very lucky that we have iPads in every classroom, so the opportunity for filming and collating information is at people's fingertips. It's really helpful if you have, you know, it's a decision that's been made at senior leadership level that you're going to have these used. Another, and I can see this actually being raised again, is the sort of data protection and security. So having clear policies around that is very helpful to ensure and let parents know that, you know, they are very secure, that the information is held securely. You may need to think about how other students appear on other people's wikis, that sort of thing. We made a policy right at the beginning that wikis were just part and parcel of what we do at the Academy, so it wasn't a choice for people to choose whether their child had a wiki or not. If they come to our Academy, then they use a wiki, and because we use it part and parcel as a tool within the school. Other barriers, yeah, I don't think. Yeah.
Right, well, thank you very much. We ran slightly out of time, so we have to finish there. But thank you very much, Kathryn, and thank you everybody for all the questions. It was really insightful and interesting, and I'm sure you gave quite a lot of ideas for different people. So thank you.